All right, man. Okay, I got it started. I got it started now. Hey guys, what's going on? It's the Ronin man here. I got Fox on the line. Foximus, how are you?
Hey, what's good, guys?
What's that?
Doing great. Just driving a big old truck through Pennsylvania,
How big is the truck?
eastbound and down. It's a 26-foot box truck, but it's actually really nice. It's a Hino watch, which is a different kind of truck, and it is a way smoother ride. If there's any truck guys out there, or guys who like drive like box trucks or do rentals, you can now get like a lot of them are Freightliners, which really cannot make it up the hills and the mountain climbs very well. They just like lose power and you're going like 35. That's totally horrible. Well, there's this new truck brand called Hino or Hino Watch.
Hino
And the
is
Hino,
Toyota.
oh, cool. Okay, so that's great to know. So yes, it's an Asian truck. So it handles the hills and everything so much better. It has an actual park, not just neutral, so like you're more secure. And then it has an overdrive function, and this bitch will just fucking go. So, and it feels way smoother ride and then way more control than a typical, 26-foot box truck or typical Freightliner. So I've been driving a lot all over America and all throughout the year. And this is the best truck I've driven so far. So that's just a cool thing for anyone who's thinking about trucks and or does this kind of job for a living.
What's the model? Do you know the model number? I'll look it up. I'll look it up
Let's
afterwards.
see. Yeah, let's see. I'm not going to figure that out for you real quick. It's a Hino LG. It looks what it says.
LG. Okay.
It's a Hino LG. Yeah, it's a 26-foot box truck. It's got 13.6 clearance. But anyways, yeah, it's anyone drives trucks out there or does any rental trucks or like hot shot driving. Way smoother truck, way better, a lot safer, and just a killer ride. So,
Hey, you know what's interesting?
Random pro tip.
What's interesting about box trucks is one of the guys had one in Australia. He in Melbourne. He had one. Yeah, he hosted the summit, and he had it set up as like a love machine. He had like a mattress in the back. And then,
hell yeah.
Then what he would do is there's these little roads as you go down the coast below Melbourne. It's like a coast highway, and it has these tiny little roads that go to the ocean, right? And they're basically like one-way road, little dirt roads or whatever. And so he would back up in one of those, and then park so that the truck that when you open the back, it's facing the ocean, purely the ocean. And nobody can drive around you. Nobody can go through because it's not a through road, right? It's a dead end. And then he would fuck the girl at night, watch the moon and everything, and then just leave, whenever, and nobody ever bothered him. And the other thing was interesting about a box truck.
Pretty sweet.
No, what was really interesting is he told me that box trucks, because they look like work trucks. He said, when you go to any kind of a busy place in I kind of imagine the way he was describing like Manhattan. You go to Manhattan and you go to like Times Square or whatever. There's no parking, right? But with a box truck, there's always like behind a building. There's always like a commercial area, and he used to park that thing. We took it. We went to all kinds of areas in Melbourne, and he just parked it. He parked it in the industrial area. Next to the fish market without paying. And then he would just leave it there all fucking day and go do whatever he wants with his girlfriend, go on a date. And he had the thing, I think he had it for about 10 years. He had never gotten a ticket because it looked like such a work truck that nobody ever wondered, nobody ever asked.
Exactly.
And so it was like, those things are pretty cool. Like
that's awesome, man.
You can do work. You could do moves for people, like a Uber mover kind of guy. And then you could also...
Oh, yeah, you can make some pretty good money driving and doing deliveries. Like a lot of transportation is done in these box trucks now.
Right.
So, a lot. Will it be cross-state or just doing like local stuff? There's a lot of money there.
Plus, you can pick up Walter White. You could have a full business back there. Just... get old Walter White and Jesse in the back there. You're driving through town, just banking the cash.
Say my name.
Hey, man, I was thinking that last episode, I think a lot of people misunderstood what I was saying. And I wanted to, Yeah, like just talk about it. You know, like what I what I saw. What you were just saying something before we started recording. What were you saying?
Yeah, well, I was saying, it's a really difficult topic and situation for a lot of people, especially for us as guys. And I'll just say, talk about from being a young American man, is like I think a lot of the young guys here in America, we basically, feel unwanted, disrespected, all those things, and we kind of just lost the, I guess you could say the desire or the will or the feeling of like the glory and the valor in fighting for this country, and really, and by that I don't mean the country, but it's really some politician or Raytheon basically, and that's I think that's even if that's not entirely true, that's how it feels, and I think comes across to a lot of young guys and a lot of guys in general. So when it comes to like like conflict, these wars and just sending money or just bombing people, even if it needs to be done or even if it's technically for a good cause, I think a lot of people are just checked out.
Right. I think one thing that young guys don't know is that it's always been like that. That's not, that is not new. Like even in World War II, there was a lot of people who didn't want to fight in World War II.
Yeah.
There was a ton of people. It's never easy to get guys to go to war. It is never for countries. Afterwards people talk shit. Everybody wanted to go, blah blah blah. But in reality, if you look back at history of like anytime they're doing like recruitment for like the war, there's always guys never want to go. It's they never like guys historically. It's really it's good to understand history. It's really important. Guys have always not wanted to go to war, and they've always like said, "Well, I don't agree with this one, right? I'll go to the next one, right?" And I think the danger is let me kind of say, well, there was two things. So one thing is that when I look at any kind of like that episode I did, I'm not looking at it from a perspective that you guys probably think. Like a lot of guys think, "Oh, I'm on one side or the other." I was looking at it totally from a military strategic perspective, not from a theological or ideological perspective. I was looking at that. I was looking at that situation in the same way that. Let me think. What would be a good example? So, if
you're like reading military history or something.
Well, no. If you're, let's say there was an imminent threat to your life. Okay, if X happened. Okay, so I can't think what it is. Maybe something like, I don't know, the cartel moves in next door, or your wife has a tiger in the bedroom, or what would be something that would be unacceptable, dangerous, right? What would be something like something somebody could do that you just couldn't accept? What would be something like that? Like you couldn't accept, like. I don't mind when somebody drives fast, but I remember I had a friend in high school that was absolutely insane, right? And he would drive like way past his abilities. And like we almost died. Like literally our car, we were going so fast and the car was so light that the car took off in the air. We went over a bump.
Holy shit.
Yeah. We went in the air and just by total chance we landed while we're still on the road, not off the side of the cliff. And then the car, skidded back. And then I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Basically, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like driving fast. It was a VW bug that was fixed up, and it was not.
Yeah, he's putting your life at risk.
Oh yeah,
in India, basically.
Yeah, and he was not a good driver either. Like he wasn't like This guy was not some fucking. He was not somebody you trusted behind the wheel. He was just kind of this insane guy, and he ended up killing himself. So, he was out there. You know what I mean? He was always kind of a fucked up guy, and he was a good friend of mine. I mean, I really sympathize for the guy, and I regret. I wish I could have helped him. You know what I mean? Honestly, his name was Pat, but the thing is he would do things that were just fucking unacceptable sometimes. I was like, dude, no way. You know what I mean? And I think when I was looking at I was looking at that perspective. Like I don't want, I didn't want. Let me get this thing. Make sure I don't recording still. Yeah, there we go. I didn't want anybody to get nuclear weapons that's not basically in the group, right? So like no clandestine weapons, and I think I don't agree with, like, I think we should have stopped North Korea. I think we should have stopped Israel. I think we should stop Iran. I don't want I think we should have stopped Pakistan from getting. You know what I mean? I don't want.
Yeah.
I don't want nuclear
If
weapons.
everybody's got one, it's just
Yeah, like
it's just asking for more problems.
well, especially unstable states. If it's a very stable country, it's a huge country. It's kind of like some things just can't be helped. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Canada's going to have. You know what I mean? France is going to have. I understand that, but I wanted that as little as possible, personally. Nuclear weapons. The problem with them is they're so dangerous. You can't, especially like in Iran's case.
I don't really think anyone should have them, honestly.
Well, but that's like
Nice.
women should be
But
good
it's too late
wives.
for that.
Yeah, women should be good wives, right?
Yeah.
But it's just you can't. Yeah, they should be great wives and raise kids, but it's just not the way it is.
Never
right?
cheat on you.
Right. So, till death do
Yeah,
us part.
that's how
right?
it should be. But
Yeah, but the thing is like in reality, like some people are going to get bombs, and it's going to be based on like some kind of a power or economic. Once they reach a certain threshold, humanity
Yep.
kind of trusts them enough. But you're right. I mean, it would be better if nobody had one, right? But obviously, that's a dream. So I want as few unstable countries to have them as possible. It's not a perfect philosophy, but Iran had talked
But
about.
it makes sense.
Iran had talked about sharing them with the Houthis, with Hezbollah. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing about nuclear weapons is nobody's ever shared them with anybody. Okay, nobody's ever done that before. Everybody, like Russia, made their own nuclear weapons and then they used them for themselves, or they keep them for themselves. Nobody ever shared them. Iran was talking about sharing them with people, right? And that's
Yeah.
just, to me, that's just
They're
fucking.
like the Oprah Winfrey of weapons dealing. You get a nuke, and you get a nuke.
Yeah,
Look into your seat. There's a nuke.
right, and
Wow.
and I think. Right, and I think the bottom line is this, is that as men, we are basically warriors. We have been warring since time immemorial. That's what men do. Like you talk about being a protector, right? That's a warrior.
Yeah.
That's what a warrior is. That's what a samurai was. That's what men were. And I think one of the issues, every man has to search himself. But we are all cowards at some level. Okay, it is very difficult to get over your cowardice to life and to attack life. We all retreat unless we have to. Like we need a reason to do it. And men have always not wanted to go to war. And in the end of the day, like a man has to ask himself, like, am I really doing this because I disagree with this? Or am I afraid? And I think it's the same thing with guys with pickup. Is guys are afraid to talk to girls, right?
Yeah.
And
You read my mind. I was like, it's just like pickup. Like there's a million reasons why you shouldn't talk to that cute girl.
right.
Or why you didn't need to get her number, or why it wasn't going to work out. Like there's always like every excuse. When you're tired, you're just not feeling it, or just getting over that hurdle, that pushing through that uncomfortable feeling when you just say fuck it and you go for it. There's more reasons to not than there is to. So you really have to have a strong motivation or a desire or whatever, or just decide. Like in my case, like I want to do this. I'm going to be this guy. Like I want to develop this skill. Like I'm going to become someone who can just do this anytime. And that for me was, it wasn't even about getting laid really. It was just, like in Japan, it was just, I wanted to do that. And then when I realized I could do it with my friends and meet girls and help each other out. And that gave me an even bigger reason to really push through. That's really what, was the biggest thing, like, picking up girls at like, Sean at 11 and like that. And then realizing, oh, this is a fucking awesome way that I can, hang out with the guys and like get to know each other better. And we're, becoming better men in the process.
Well, that's the thing when we
Maybe that's
right
yeah.
when we overcome our fears about something that is truly terrifying, right? War is terrifying,
Yeah.
and so is a lot of stuff. Like we guys are terrified of not having money, like of starting a company and being at the whims of fucking society, right? And the whims of
Yeah.
whatever luck or whatever, fate, uh, and so a man, I don't. I'm not saying guys should go to war. Okay, don't get me wrong. I think guys will misunderstand this. It's like some kind of sneaky way of saying, "Oh, guys should support this." I'm not saying you should support anything. What I'm saying is, you have to know yourself. Okay, and most guys don't know themselves. And at the heart, we are all cowards. It is very difficult not to be a coward. It's fucking difficult. And the only way you're not going to be a coward is if you face the fact that you are a coward. And then you say, at some point, you're like, fuck it. I'm in. Like, I am, like, I'm willing to go and
Yeah.
be a warrior, right? Whatever it is, like, like I got a situation one time when I probably talked about it, but basically, we were getting ripped off, and this guy pulled a knife on me, and I was with this Australian guy. And he was the guy who had kind of started the whole thing. But then when the guy pulled
Yeah.
the knife, I looked back at him and I was like, we're gonna do this thing, right? Me and there was like 5 guys, right? I had the one guy had a knife. I don't know how many other guys had knives, but I was like, we're gonna fuck these guys up, right? And then he like goes, he's like, you can do that. I'm out of here. He left. So he left me with the 5 guys, right? So basically, I won, and then I diffused the situation, and then I didn't know what to do, so I just walked down the street to find a hotel because I had my backpack with me and stuff. I was traveling back when I was going around the world, and I saw the guy at a coffee shop, and I fucking never disrespected. I never looked at a guy like such a worm as that guy. Like he started the thing, and then he left me getting attacked by 5 guys with a knife by myself. Right?
Mm.
He just didn't have the balls, and the guy, when I looked at his face, he couldn't accept it. And especially he was especially embarrassed that I won. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't.
Oh, he's like, oh, you didn't die?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly,
jeez. I guess you could have won.
exactly. Like I was not talking shit. I'm like, we can take these guys. Let's do this. Let's get this done. And
Yeah.
I think it's very easy, whether it's, looking at, I think men need to know that we're warriors. We are fucking warriors. That is what we are. Women protect babies. They're the protectors and all that. I mean, sorry, of the babies, right? Take care of the nurturing and all that, right? But we are the warriors that take care of the big issues. And this is what I wanted to tell guys. I'm not saying I'm right, okay? But what I'm saying is it's one warrior to another. If another guy tells you something, this is what he really thinks, you should listen to him. A guy who knows himself, and he tells you, here's what I think should be done. You know what I mean? And I would be willing to do it, right? If the guy tells you that, you don't spout off a bunch of bullshit about ideology to the guy. I mean, these are very somber statements, right? There's a part of me, even if a guy's wrong, when I see that he's a warrior, I respect that guy. And it's the same sense of like Cool Hand Luke when he was out there getting his ass kicked in that fight, right? He would just keep getting up and then just keep getting knocked down, right? And then just keep getting his ass kicked, right? And then everybody was like, and then even the guy hitting him, right? He's like, just stay down, but he has to stand up and go again, right? And that is my attitude, right? I'm fucking getting back up, right? That's me. That I have forged myself into that person, and I know myself as that person, and I've proven that. So to me, I I think that men need to at least grapple with themselves on these issues. It's not about Israel. It's not about the other country. It's Iran. It's not. It's about you as a man. Like, what do you ever want to be tested? Do you ever? Are you ever willing to be a protector for anything, or are you just using up excuses and saying, "Oh, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that," and then you just never. You know what I mean? Are you the guy who wouldn't have backed me up with the knife fight, right? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to leave your friend there? Like, I think men need to know that most men are pussies. Okay, they just can't do it. And I want to say to guys, like, I think this is one of those things where if you have the right friends, even if you're not naturally a certain way, you can see when something is right. I think as a man, we need to be warriors. We need to be the protectors of society. And if you think something is dangerous, right? Like I personally think a bunch of psychos having a nuclear weapon and sharing it with other people is not safe. Okay, I don't think that's safe. And it doesn't matter who they are, right? I'm very against Israel having a weapon, by the way, which I didn't say. And a lot of guys wouldn't. And in fact, I know a lot what I'm talking about. I read about the whole series of things that Israel, if you want to know what I think about Israel having a nuclear weapon, I read about the whole series of things that Israel did to get that weapon. And it had a really terrible effect on the world. And the reason why was because Israel was the first country to get a nuclear weapon outside of the nuclear, basically, countries, the umbrella. And because of that, they basically started the black market for nuclear materials. So because because there was no place to buy any of the ingredients for a bomb, but Israel wanted a bomb, and they couldn't get the stamp of approval from the countries that would do it, so they went and did it on their own. Okay, now that you could, I mean, I'm not saying like it was not. I will say this. Whether I agree with it or not, they did a brilliant job of doing it. Okay, I mean, I'm not saying they didn't do it, and I'm not saying it was totally unwarranted either. You know what I mean? Like, they were a small country surrounded by enemies, but the same thing. I fucking don't like it, and the reason is very logical. It's not ideological. It's not taking a side. I'm not contradicting myself. I don't like risk, and when you create a black market for nuclear materials, you basically make a superhighway for other countries. Like, you're basically turning nuclear scientists dirty. That's what happened. They got a guy to help them, and they basically he was basically supposed to not share his stuff, but he did for Israel, right? And so they turned him into a rebel, into a weak link in the system, into a risk, right? Because once you've done it once, you might do it again, right? You might do it for money.
Oh, yeah.
And once somebody sees you do it, they might do it. If nobody does it, then nobody does it, right? But once a respected guy does it, it opens the door for many things. So I'm not saying, I'm not taking, I personally think that there is serious risk with Iran having a nuclear weapon. I know a lot about it. I love Iran. Last night I just went out with a sweetie pie Iranian girl, actually, and she was pulling her skirt up. It was great, by the way, but it was great. I'll tell you the whole thing after the call. But the thing is, she's looking for a boyfriend and a husband, right? So, but the thing is that, and I can't wait to go to Tehran. Like, I've wanted to go to Tehran since 1989, when my friend bought a knife back from Iran. He had been there working before the Shah, and it had like a big, kind of like an emerald. No, not a green one. What's the green stone?
Jade.
Jade, like a jade. Yeah, it was like a really
emerald's green too, but.
Oh, is it? Okay. It was like a beautiful knife with a huge inlaid gem in it. He was a wealthy guy.
Nice.
And I saw that as a kid, and I was like young, and I was like, whoa, that place looks so is so exotic. I fucking gotta go. I want to go to Iran, man.
Yeah.
And then later
Fucking
when
Persia, dude.
yeah, yeah. And I had already met a lot of
So cool.
Iranians in LA who had fled the Shah, and I was very interested in Iran, like really interested. And I hung out with Iranians in college. All my friends, Homayun Shirazi was one of my good friends. Abdi Shiraz, sorry, what was his last name? Shahabi was another friend of mine, and we hung out all the time. Me and these two guys, and there was a couple other guys on the side, but these two main guys, and you know, I'm. By the way, the girl I met last night, she's gonna look up my friends and try to track them down through the like Iranian network in LA, and I can talk to them again because I really they were a big part of that period of my life. So I'm
Yeah.
very pro Iran, and I don't like. There's certain things I just don't like. Okay, I don't like the mullahs taking over Iran. Okay, I don't like when one culture just comes and crushes another culture. Like fuck that, especially a beautiful culture like the Persian culture. Like I'm not into that. That fucking sucks. I've seen that happen in other countries. Like it could be McDonald's
Yeah.
comes in and crushes a culture, right? I don't like that. Okay, that's why I made it. It was like I don't like when that happens. I think it would be great for Persian culture to kind of be able to flower again, right? Thousand and One Nights, you know, all the beautiful. There's a lot of beautiful, sweeping, romantic. There's some great history there, man, and I would love to see that culture uh, blossom again, right? And I think it can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also, too, I don't like risk. I don't like countries. I don't like cultures that come in and just crush other people. And I take that all the way around. It's not just for this one. I don't like that concept, right? And I don't like the concept of, you know, psycho guys or guys I don't trust having very, very, very dangerous weapons that totally change the whole world. Like when someone has a nuke, it's not just that they'll use it. The main power is that they might use it. It's kind of like, okay, it's like marriage. It's not that the girls will divorce you. It's that they could divorce you at any time. So it corrupts the whole institution because men are terrified of divorce because it ruins them, right? And so they have to be simpy with their wives. So the threat of destruction corrupts all of the whole thing, right?
Mm.
You know, the threat of total annihilation, right? It just
Yeah, and then everyone's living in fear and especially when you're dealing with like really ideological people.
right, right.
Logic, reason, common sense. What's fair or smart or overall best for humanity or their own society. That can all get pushed to the side, and this is very obvious when you see people who are, ideologically driven to do things that are, cause harm to themselves and even their own, friends or family or neighbors or their own society. You can see this playing out in our country. You can see it playing out in, history throughout the world. So,
Right. I mean, and you know, I also feel very bad for the Iranian people because they should be fucking wealthy as fuck, right? They should be like
yeah,
Kuwait, or you know what I mean. They should just be like living on oil, just pumping the oil, just cashing fucking Lamborghinis everywhere,
riding
gold.
magic carpets around.
Oh, dude, they should be just Iranians should be just living a great life. They have all the resources they need and they have a beautiful culture. They have all the resources to be rich. It makes no sense that they're absolutely dirt poor. It makes no sense. Like it's so stupid. It's like you have this huge gold mine, and then this kind of like Mao Zedong during the famine, the Great Famine. A lot of people think that
Hmm.
they ran out of food, right? The Chinese, but that's not true. Mao was so psycho. The people would be lining up outside of the granaries or whatever they call
Yeah,
them, and they would be pounding on the door, starving to death, just needing a handful of food. Literally 40 or 50 million people died this way. Like it was, and he wouldn't open the gates. He was like a complete unhinged lunatic. He was a sadistic fuck, right? And the people didn't eat, and they had the food. A lot of people don't know that. They think, oh, there were all these problems and they didn't have enough food. And yeah, there was problems. And he did fuck up the farming. And they did sending it to people to the countryside. It did mess up production, but they still had a lot of grain. They were exporting grain to the UK at the time during the famine. So, it wasn't like they had no, yeah, because
While their
Mao,
own people are starving.
yeah, yeah, their own people, like by the tens of millions. And Mao believed that rich countries export grain. Like he believed a lot of crazy things. Like he thought that, advanced countries make iron. That's why he had all the like people making iron in their backyard. And then he thought that rich countries export grain because America did that, right? So he was basically America had iron. Like he basically was trying to do things that the country wasn't ready for, and he didn't understand that you don't make these things to prove you're good. You like open the place up and let business make whatever is necessary. And if iron's necessary, they end up making a lot of iron, right? He didn't understand the basics. And having him with total control was total disaster, for the Chinese people, right? I mean, all those people that died, it was crazy. People were being cannibals with their own family. I mean, it was like terrible, right? And I don't like that stuff. I'm not big on that. You know what I mean? And I think that's the same situation we got with these mullahs in Iran. I would love to see Persian culture come back. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
and doing kind of like what India does. India has a nice balance. There's a lot of Muslims in India, and they have, like, I stayed next to a mosque in Chennai, and they did the call to prayer 5 times a day, right next to my, like, blasting speakers next to my youth hostel thing. And it was funny because everybody hated it, but I actually loved it. I thought the call to prayer was beautiful, and I love the sound of Muslim music, and I just love the haunting way they sing. That echoey, beautiful, timeless. I believe that it's some of the oldest form of music, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. And I love the call to prayer, and it never bothered me at all. Having that blasting every day, 5 times a day. I always thought it was beautiful. I swear to God, it didn't bother me at all. And I was there for fucking 2 months. It didn't bother me. I loved it. And so what was I going to say? India has a nice balance. They have a big Muslim population. They have a huge Hindu population, and they have other religions too. Like in Goa, they have Christians, and one of my friends is a Christian from Goa, and I think I could see the future of Iran being more like that. I'm not saying one thing takes over the other, but just having a balance of everybody has their say, right? Everybody has freedom to do what they want. That's what I would ultimately like. I prefer, you know what I mean? So, yeah, like, I think, but I think for the guys here, I think, like, the warrior thing is important. The protector. And people are brainwashed. They think war is not protecting. They think war is destruction. Dude, think about it. You probably think that. Everybody thinks that. Here's the thing. Think about it. What did guys do in the past? It was all wars. What happened in Europe? Wars constantly. What happened in fucking Japan? It was all wars until, like, very recently. Japanese history is all fucking wars. And then we say we're the protectors. Okay? So every red pill guy is going to say that men are the protectors, right? And they imagine, I think this is a misunderstanding. They imagine that a protector doesn't really do anything. He just gets a bunch of tattoos and stomps around and protects people, right? That's not historically what men do. Like, to protect yourself, you need to eliminate threats. Okay? If there's another neighboring tribe that it could be a tiger too, or a neighboring tribe. Say that the tiger is spotted near your village. Hasn't killed anybody yet, but it's just constantly spotted stalking your village at night, right? That's a risk. Men would go and kill that tiger because they know the tiger is stalking people to eat them eventually. Tigers are very patient. They'll wait like 2 weeks before they strike. They'll study you. If you're ever around a tiger And you see, if you ever hear about a tiger being near you, get the fuck out of there, because he's studying you. Okay, and then eventually he will strike. Usually they take about 2 weeks. They learn exactly what you do. When you drink water, which direction do you look? Like, do you look this way or do you look that way? And then, how long do you do this? How long do you do that? They studies you. And then when he comes in from behind. And then his paw just grabs you by the back of the neck. And you can't, when you get pulled backwards, there's nothing, you're totally defenseless, right? So tigers are just fucking terrible. Like, they're the worst way to go. And a tribe would say that is a risk. It's not you can't protect yourself from a tiger. You got to go kill the tiger. That's it. Back in the day, there's no way you could make a big net over the village or something, right? The only way was to go kill the tiger. And and it was the same with neighboring tribe. If a neighboring tribe came too close, you knew they might start killing people and taking your women back in the day, because that's what people did. So you knew that.
Yeah.
So your only choice is to go and fuck them up and take their women, right? That was basically what we did. It was madness, but it was really the survival instinct. And men have more than the survival instinct. That, I guess I'm trying to get at a very subtle point, but it's a very important point, is to eliminate threats, you need to take extreme actions. And to take extreme actions, you need to be able to make a cogent decision, a logical, non-emotional decision. Now, that decision might be wrong, okay? But as a man, as a protector, as a warrior, you need to be able to make that decision. And then you need to carry it out. That's a warrior. So a warrior doesn't sit around. Okay, somebody who's like a artist, he doesn't do this historically. Artists are not protectors. So they sit around or like, let's say philosophers. They sit around philosophizing this. There's good and bad. The warrior doesn't do that. The warrior's like, yeah, you might be right, but I think this is a risk, and I'm going to go take care of this risk. That's what the warrior does. The warrior is not socially acceptable. The warrior listens to his heart, and he listens to what he thinks is a risk. And he doesn't give a fuck what people think. Okay? He looks at it from his own perspective. He makes a decision. And then if he's a leader, then he'll lead other people into that. And if he's like a lone wolf, he goes in and then usually doesn't win, right? So a good warrior is often a leader also. And is a communicator and can what was that, Spartacus or whatever the guy's making the speech. You got to be able to get guys on your side and, to lead a large revolution. But I think guys got to know is that it is very easy. It is very hard to be a warrior. It is very hard to be what we are designed to be. You need to fight yourself to be that. And you need to accept other guys when they are warriors. And warriors respect warriors. So you see this at the end of the war, World War II, is you saw there's a lot of stories about top German generals and stuff when they met top German, like American or French or British generals. And when they talked to each other, they had total respect. And I think the guys are confusing ideology with this. This is what I'm talking about. There's a good, I'm not sure if it's Band of Brothers or, it must have been Band of Brothers, where the guy's handing in his gun. Did you ever see that?
I saw the show, so yeah, go ahead and talk about
the clip
scene that you're imagining.
Yeah, where the one, he's taking the, what's the guy's name? The guy who became the hero in the Band of Brothers, and he goes back to the U.S. to sell war bonds, and then he comes back and dies. What was that guy's name?
I don't remember his name.
He's like super famous American warrior, like really famous.
Captain America?
Oh, this guy was like the greatest. This guy was one of a kind. Oh no, this was John Basilone. Yeah, no, this is in the Pacific. No, this is John Basilone I'm talking about. John Basilone was a warrior. You know, he couldn't. They took him out of. They took him because he was just taking too many risks, right? And then they took him out and they sent him back to sell war bonds. No, well, fuck, I might be getting two guys confused. Anyway, there's like two like iconic American heroes. One was from the Pacific and one from the Atlantic, and both those guys are so interesting. They were warriors to the end, right? And came back and died because at the end of the day, when you talk about yourself as a warrior, it's not even logical. It's not even logical. It's like you're a lover. It's not logical. Like a warrior is a fucking warrior. A warrior makes a decision and he takes action. And men are kind of happiest when we're doing that. Now, society is terrified of us because we are like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you can see why society would be. They need us, right? They know they need us. And they love us. And they make us into these big heroes when it's convenient for them. But as men, you need to, like, there's so many things you need to know for yourself to be the man that you really want to be, to become the man that you could be. One of them is all the stuff I talked about before. And the other one is to know that you won't be appreciated. Okay? You were saying, like, guys don't want to fight because there's no point. There's never a point, except for the point is that you're a fucking warrior. You know what I mean? And at the end, that's what we like to do. It's like if we go play football, bang our heads against the wall. It makes no logical sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, what logical sense does that make?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's funny because even in the Bhagavad Gita, I'm not sure if you read that or not, but
part of it. Yeah.
Even in that, the guy who's playing the role of the god, instructing Krishna, he basically tells Arjuna, the prince, like, because he's basically got to fight his own family, his own cousins or brothers, whatever, and it's going to be a huge bloody battle. And he's seeing there's what's the point in this, and what is it good does it do? And he basically is like, at the end of the day, like, basically what you're saying, like, you're a warrior. This is what you have to do. Like, don't make it more than it needs to be. Just, you have a fight, and your people need you, and you got to do this. This is what it is. And, like, don't beat yourself up over it. You just know what you got to do, and you do it. Obviously, there's way more layers to that story, but even in that, that's the same type of thing. So that's very cool.
Well, it's like
and I think what you're saying, like, if the guys listening to this, if you search yourself and you feel within yourself for that fire in you, like, it rings true what Ronan's saying right here. Like, I can feel it. It's like, fuck, like this, yes. Like, like, we know. Even though that part of us is suppressed so much in our lives and definitely in our societies now, but it's there. And I think we all know, like, yeah, sometimes you just have to step up and you just have to do what you got to do. And that's part of being a man.
And a lot of that is in your mind too. See, the first thing you do it in your mind, and then this is the key thing with the warrior. The warrior does not go out looking for a battle. Okay? That's not a warrior. The warrior understands that he might have to take extreme action and very likely not make it through if something happens that he deems cannot be done, cannot be accepted. Okay? So once you have your value system, right, then you now know who you are and what you think. And then as you go through life, you might find something that does not jive with that. And you're like, no, I don't accept that. Fuck that. I'm not going to do that. And then you're willing to go. And because you've already prepared yourself. And then when the thing comes, you're like, no, that's totally fucking unacceptable. Fuck that. I'm not not on my watch. I don't think it's safe for, like, in fucking nuclear weapons just fucking floating around. I'm not into it. I think personally, that was the whole issue. I'm not into it. I'm not stupid enough to think a nuke floating around is not going to change the world. It is going to change the world. Somehow they got Kim Jong Un in North Korea not to let his nukes float around, but thank God. But the next guy who gets them, who knows?
Wow.
You know, like
Well, yeah.
who knows, right? They might sell them.
Well, now, yeah, now they're talking about it too. Yeah, so
Yeah, but they haven't done it.
so we'll see.
They
No,
haven't,
they haven't done it yet. So
they haven't done it, and Iran was talking about before they even got the weapon. You know, so
yeah,
like not Iran. I shouldn't say Iran. It's not Iran. It's the mullahs.
yeah.
The mullahs.
No, what you're saying. Well, yeah, what you're saying makes total sense. I mean, it's essentially also um, you can see this playing out and in real time. You know, where there's a line that you just if something you have your value system, like you said, you know what is an existential basically problem or situation where you just have to act no matter what. And if that comes up, you have to basically have the courage to stick to do that and know that that's the right thing to do. That's what you have to do.
And sometimes you can't join because you're too old to join the war or whatever. But the thing is, still, in your heart, you want to go. You know what I mean? Like, it pains you that you can't go. You know, because in the old days, you could fight at any age. You didn't need to get drafted and everything. You could just go. You know, like old farmers. You know, they were some of the best warriors in World War II. The guys who lived on the farm and were really good at shooting birds and stuff. Those guys were they were badass in Vietnam. And, those were younger guys in Vietnam, but still, they were out on the farm with their, single shot fucking rifle, And then World War II, like there was guys like the White Death in Finland, there was just an absolute terror, right? And with his old fucking rifle that he trusted and just absolutely changed history. That one guy basically stopped the Russians from invading Finland. Read about the White Death, So you can make a difference.
Yeah.
He did. Every time they came, he shot like the top general. So they couldn't keep losing these guys as they invaded Finland. Because this one guy, and they would bomb the shit out of the fucking field, and he's under the snow, you know what I mean? And the guys were just, he got half his face blown off, but he just stayed there, and he survived. And he made it to the end of the war. And he like literally changed history. One guy. I mean, like in very recent history, stopped a country as large as Russia from invading his country. So the power of one man is no joke. It's no joke, and it inspired a lot of Finnish guys to fight too. A lot of guys died too after that. That was the other thing. It wasn't just, but he was a big part. That guy was a big part. So as a warrior, you're a powerful fucking force. You have to be very careful, and you have to think logically. And if another warrior is talking to you and tells you what he thinks, there's a fucking respect there. Especially if the guy's saying like, once he explains everything, you understand that it's a logical value system he has, right? It's not ideological. It's not emotional. It's rational. A nuclear weapon can just kill too many people. It's too big. It's too destructive. It's too evil, for like unstable people to have.
You can't contain that. You can't stop it, really.
Right, but big countries, we got the ability to stop unstable countries from getting it. We've done a good job so far. I mean, I understand eventually this will change, right? Everybody will have them at some point. But as warriors, we have to accept imperfect reality. If we can just stop it for now, right? If we can stop it for our lifetime, then it's up to the next generation of warriors to stop it for the next generation, right? We just do what we can while we're here.
Yeah.
And if guys don't do that, then what the fuck are we? What's the other opposite, right? If we're not able, if we see a threat, like imagine this. If you see a car coming down the street and your kid is playing in the road and you call to him and this and that, and the kid doesn't hear you, doesn't take it seriously, what do you got to do? You got to rush out there and risk your life and get that kid off the fucking road, right? Every father knows that. There's that moment. You're not out looking for this moment, but when it happens, you're like lightning because you've already thought it through. You're ready. You're ready to take that action that a man would take, right? That's what men do. That's how you really meet your real best self. And I think also too, physically, these type of mental decisions, thinking, logic, it benefits you because there's something in you. This is what I believe. I can't prove this part, but I believe like there's something in your testosterone, something in your will to live. There's something it's something very powerful inside yourself that will protect you, that will give you strength. A lot of people call that God, but I don't know if it's God. I doubt it, but there's something real there. There's like when you've thought about things with a fair, you know what I mean? Like with a very clear mind, and it's very true to yourself and it makes sense, and you're ready. There's something in you that's different. And you're ready to do it. Whatever it is, as a man, you're ready for that moment of necessary action. And I think guys got to wake the fuck up. If you're talking shit, you're not ready. And you want to be ready. Not that you have to do anything. Not that you agree with this cause or that cause. But as a man, there's got to be something in you that you give a fuck about. And the reason why you give a fuck is because you do. Right? You know what I mean? It's not something you're going to make up. It's something you're going to see. And if you're not being a pussy, you're going to say, I don't agree with that. Like, I don't think that's safe. And people will tell you, oh, it's safe. Everybody has nuclear weapons. And then you're going to be like, yeah, I don't think so. Or whatever it is, right? No matter what people say, once you know what you believe, you won't care what they say because you're going to be like, I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? It's fine that you think that. It's fine that society wants to ignore this truth. It's very much a red pill on this one. There's certain things that just are dangerous, and a protector would not let happen. The kid in the street, right? A protector is going to grab that kid. Now, maybe that kid might move out of the way on his own, and everything will be fine. But that man will never be the same if he didn't go and try to protect that kid. He will never be. I think that the man will never recover, really. That's how important these things are to men. We regret these things till the day we die. Not only will it benefit you, but you will regret it. You will know you should have done something. You should have taken action. And why didn't you take action? It's because of the cobwebs in your mind, right? And the unwillingness to make a decision. And I think also crabs in a bucket where you're not allowing other guys to make a decision, like a logical decision, or to at least hear them out, to really understand what they really are saying, right? Because I think talking to other men helps us to sharpen the sword on what we really, what's really going on. Like sometimes it takes talking to another man to really, you know what I mean? And I think for myself, I probably am more clear in this one than I was in the last one. So I do understand that some guys would not see the full picture. So I'm not saying anybody who said stuff is like this. But I think...
No, for me too, from... Instead of looking at it from the perspective of countries or politicians or ideologies or any of those things, but you've heard that circle of drains so many times. but instead to look at it through the lens of a warrior and what it means to be a warrior is a completely different thing. And I got a lot of value, and I can feel it. It's really sinking in, and I'm seeing it. And it makes total sense. But not just that. Like, I want to be truly that warrior that when I know it's time to take action, I can fucking do it.
And
No hesitation, no.
Yeah, you won't have the licenses you need and all that, right? Like when I was in that bus crash in China in '89, the bus crashed into a van, and then it ripped the top of the other van off, and it basically just decimated everybody in the other van. And then we went off the road down a valley into a wall, down into the river basically, but a wall of dirt or whatever, rock or whatever it was, and both cars and everything was fucked up, right? So then I immediately got out of the van, went, and I'd never been in this situation before. I immediately looked at everybody. Everybody was okay except for our driver was dead because he was in the front of the bus, and it hit, boom, in the front. So then I went up to the other van, and there was people strewn all over the road, blood everywhere. Their backs were like S's, because they'd got hit so hard.
Oh man.
Yeah, and there was nobody to ask. I'm not a paramedic. I've had no medical training. The only thing I ever had was junior lifeguard training, where we learned a little bit of helping people in danger. And I just went right into it, man. I started talking to everybody. Now, they speak Chinese, so I didn't speak Chinese at the time. And I was just like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I was looking around. I just basically did what a paramedic does. I looked at everybody. Who's the most damaged that is still alive? And then I went up to him. His head was, basically he was scalped. The top of his head was open, like a can of tomato sauce. And you could see his brains, right? And so I took his head and I closed it. I put the head back on, or the flap, all his hair, his scalp, and then I went and ripped down the river, and I got a curtain off of the bus. I tore it off the bus, and then I tied his scalp down around his head, and then I just talked to him. And basically, he helped everybody. And nobody else did it. Nobody else did anything. And everybody was just watching. Because we were in rural Hainan Island in 1989. There was, I think it was like an hour before anybody came. And it wasn't even an ambulance. It was a car to take people away to Haikou, the capital. And so I was there, and I just basically was helping everybody, trying to figure who was the worst, who was the best. And I kept talking to the guy to keep him alert, because I knew that guy with the head open, if he went unconscious, he would probably die, right? So just kind of instinctively, I knew to keep him awake. And then when the ambulance came, they thought I was a family or something, right? Because I guess I cared, right? And no training, we don't need training. You don't need licenses. You don't need shit as a man. You just got to be ready. And I think, bullshit's not going to help you get ready. It's not going to help you. Be careful. Be careful. Of course, you might disagree with things. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you should go to war for countries or whatever. But you better get to know yourself. You know what I mean? And your instinct is probably being a coward. That's probably what it is. And that's okay. I am not saying like I said in the beginning, we are all cowards. You need to build yourself up into a warrior. We all start from that level. It's kind of a self-preservation, right? Hey, it's not me. As long as it's not me, then fuck them, right? That's our basic, right? That's what humans do, right? Hey, it's not me.
Not my problem.
That's not my problem. But the problem is, it's kind of like that saying in World War II in Germany was, first they took away these people, and then I said nothing, and then they took away those people, and now they take away me, and there's no one left, And it's like, if you don't make a decision and take action, then eventually evil takes over, right? And you have to make a decision about what that is. You're not logical. I mean, sorry, you're not perfect. You don't have the licenses. You're not voted there. You don't have any, you don't have a golden penis or anything. There's nothing, there's, no, there's nothing, that, kind of stamped from society is I say you're ready as you are if you want to be. You're ready. You are ready to be that guy in the world. And it will be the best thing you ever did is to decide to be that guy and be that guy in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that right there will change your life. Is just you will I think you'll take life more seriously. Discussions more seriously. It's not about there was one comment, it's like typical boomer take, these type of things are just not well thought out. People, warriors are any age. And you look history, this is 100% the case. There are some very young men that had a huge impact on history. And there's same thing with old men. There's some old men that just fucking turned history. And, that one guy, the Finnish guy, the White Death was one of them, but there's a million more. There's a million more examples. It's like we are all the same on this level. We are all the same on this level as a warrior. Another guy or another warrior can take your life. There's nothing about, you know what I mean? And these days with guns, and women can take your life. You know what I mean? Like, it's serious out there. You know what I mean? And I think I respect, like, if you come to the logical conclusion that something is, in fact, I recommend it. I was just going to say this, the last thing, is to start to think about world events from that perspective. Like, what do you think is right? Like, society doesn't let you have an opinion anymore because it's always going to hurt somebody or there's some group that doesn't agree, right? So you're basically, and who are you to think that? Who are you to have an opinion? You know what I mean? Who are you to think that your logic is good enough to figure out the world? I say you're.
How dare you?
What was that?
Greta Thunberg. How dare you? All right, continue.
No, that's good though. How dare you? That's kind of what society says, It's like, how dare you? Like some 15-year-old girl's telling us, how dare you? And we're just like cowering, right? It's like, dare, right? Dare to do it. You know what I mean? Dare to have an opinion. Dare to have a nuanced, opinion about things. Now, of course, it won't sound nuanced at certain times because you're not explaining your whole philosophy, right? So someone might misunderstand you and they're going to say that you're, you know what I mean? You're this or that. And you got to look at yourself and say, am I? Like that thing about the Israeli nuclear weapon. I think a lot of guys would be surprised by that. And I mean, I believe that we need to rise above any of this ideology bullshit and just say the truth, to be able to accept the truth. Our country does things that are not right. It happens. I'm not my country. I'm not what they decide to do. But at the bottom line, at some other level, at some level, and of course this is more like theoretical than real, but it's also real. So at some level, I'm willing to go fight in any war and just be a hero and die in any war for any reason. That's at some level. You know what I mean? Like there's part of me as a man. That's a part of me. It's just like this desire to fucking be a protector and warrior. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I know what you mean. I have that feeling, that thought a time or two, and it like kind of came out of nowhere and it surprised me. I was like, "That's crazy, dude. What am I thinking?" But it floated up. I was like, maybe I should just go over there and fucking do it. Join in. Like, let's just go and just, and I taught, of course, I was like, don't be insane. Like, you have no training, you won't be any help. But that feeling welled up inside me, and it was for something that I thought was like, this has to happen. I looked at it very pragmatically and like, yeah, with this, I won't say who it was, but just like what these guys are doing is they have to do this. It's not even right or wrong. It's just like, they have to. This has to be done. Wow. And I can agree with that. I could see that. I could believe in that because it is what it is. And then and so then that, and knowing that seeing the men doing it, enjoying, kicking ass, that's what made me want to fucking be a part of that. Because I knew what they were doing, what they had to fucking do. It was the right decision, and they were kicking ass at it, and I wanted to be, like, I felt that, like, that desire to be a part of that. Right. To be a part of history in like a good way. Not good because, wars going together, but like, you just, as a man, like, you like know sometimes you got to do something, or this is a cause worth fighting for, or the fight itself is just got to happen. And being in on that is, I don't know. I can see how you'd feel that way. That's all I'll say. And I know I'm saying it for someone who's never been in a war, so I have no idea what it's like, but I don't think that's what it's about. I think it's like, as a man, like, that warrior spirit it's there, and it wells up at times. And
yep.
I think you got to just cultivate that within yourself and know that you have that part of yourself.
Yeah, and if the moment comes, you act. You're ready. It's not just theoretical. Like, you really become the warrior you want to be. And in today's society, obviously, men have built modern society into a very safe place. So it doesn't happen all the time. But I think at some level, like, I'm ready. You know what I mean? For whatever the fuck, And that is to my benefit.
Yeah. That'd be one hell of a summit.
Oh, speaking of good summits, dude, I'm so looking forward to Japan, dude. Oh man, I'm so bummed you can't be there, man. Fuck, that is such a bummer, man. Fuck, I'd love to have you there.
Oh, always. I was thinking about that a lot lately, and it's like, just the memories of being in Japan and what it felt like to be there, and the photos and everything, and I realized, like, there's something about Japan. There's something about being there that is just so incredible. And I guess, like, I want to go back, and I want to feel that, and I want to be there and see what adventures come up from that,
I think the key.
I'm definitely planning on. Yeah, go ahead.
The key is, like, not just being in Japan, but for me, it's being with the guys in Japan. It's what we create when we're there. Because when I go to, like, the summit, right? This time I won't, but usually I go like 2 or 3 weeks early, right? And it's a very different vibe when I'm by myself, because my brain goes back into when I lived there. So I just kind of do the normal things, go to the store. I call and meet friends that I knew before. And I go to places that I knew before. It's fine. It's very nostalgic. But when you guys come, all of a sudden, there's just something magic that happens at summits. And everybody, all of us sharing rooms, sharing ideas. And each summit almost has it's almost like a baby. It has like a life, you know what I mean? It has like a personality. And that, as that unfolds as we go, we all learn things together at each summit, right? Especially these ones with trips afterwards. And it's just like, it's like very different than just being alone in Japan. Even for me, like, fluent Japanese, all that, doesn't matter. It's like, there's something special about it. And when the guys leave, that's when I leave,
Yeah. I remember last Japan Summit I was at, it was in 2023 in the summer. I really didn't want to go, and I, like, just leave it while the trip was still going on. I was like, fuck. But then the one that really got to me was the fall summit, the Kyoto summit. and that was such a wild trip, incredible what we saw, and then being in Tokyo for the leaves and walking the park and like all the trees are just glowing yellow and orange. And it was so surreal, and the sunsets and the way the light would hit us, bounce off the buildings, and that the whole trip was so incredible. But then, like one by one, all the guys started leaving, and then it was just you and me, and we're like still going to MSU, we're having the best fucking time, and then finally it was time for you to go back too. We had that last thing where we nailed the bullet train last minute, just went straight there, met those cute girls, got to the train, got on, and then when you left, it was like, I was like, it was like that moment, and we were like the two warriors going just down different paths or something. And for the next couple of days, it was okay, but like it quickly hit me. I was like, oh, it's just me now, and it didn't feel the same. Like like that adventure, that energy was now gone and done, and it was just me, just kind of doing the normal thing. And man, it was so fucking sad actually, because even though I was in Japan. And I was having so much fun. It was so great to be there. I knew like the magic, like you said, was finished for that time.
Yeah,
I would come back again later, but it was like what that was. It was like it's when everybody gets together and everyone mixes their personalities and the adventures, and just one guy thinks of something, and like, okay, cool, yeah, let's go check that out. And that turned out to be the coolest thing for the day. It's the whole thing.
Right. It's almost like when you take acid, you kind of decide before what you're going to do. You kind of like, you prepare yourself to want to venture in a certain direction, or to work on a certain issue, or to be open to change or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people come to summits, they're saying to themselves like, I am going to be the best me. You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to not be lazy. Like every morning, like, hey, what are we going to do? Like on the trip, right? I'm going to get up and read a little bit, talk to a few people, think about it. And then I'm going to present my idea to the guys. Hey, I think this is the best idea. And then someone else presents an idea, and then it's better. And I'm going to be like, that's a better idea. Let's fucking do that. Like I'm going to be my best self in both ways. I'm going to prepare. I'm going to be always giving. I try to do my best to come up with good ideas, but then when a better one comes, I quickly going to switch to that, because I'll be like, that's the best idea. The best idea wins. That is definitely the best idea. Let's do that. Maybe we can do my thing another day, or maybe it won't happen, right? So like it's that kind of give and take, right? Putting in the effort, but also willing to say, hey, that's a way better idea. Let's do that,
Yeah, and like motivating, or not necessarily motivating, as that's maybe the wrong word, but working with each other to create that and to do that, and for each person, whatever their thing is, like whenever in the Japan summit, the first one in 2023, when I think I talked about it probably at some of the meetings, but I had never really done pickup. I always had girls, but I wasn't like good at just like going up to anybody, I'd always been kind of shy that way. And I just decided like that summit, that trip, that's it. I'm going to fucking do this. I'm going to get good at this. And then all of a sudden, like, you and everybody, we just worked with me to do that. And it just flowed naturally. It wasn't like some like, all right, here's your 10 things on the list. It was just like, that one right there, go talk to her, and it was the right thing at the right time. And we like push each other, and like, it's like a brotherhood, or like you're all warriors and you're all doing a shield wall, and you're like, we're all going to accomplish this thing together. And if one guy's got one issue he's working on, everyone's going to support him in that. Yeah, as best they can. And it just seems to happen naturally too. Whenever we're coming together and just doing the summits. So when you like know what you want to work on, and then you just share it. Honestly.
Yeah, and you were so giving in that way too, which was cool, because not only did you build yourself into who you wanted to be, but you were willing to take other guys on and help them and be there for them, and then they got it, and then it was like this double whammy of good vibes and explosion really in that case.
Yeah.
And then I saw that happening with you guys. And then, because I'm just not in that mode now, like of doing pickup. You know what I mean? I just don't care any like right now. And so I was so happy to see it happening. And I went to sleep that night just so happy. I was just like, I just was overjoyed that night. I remember that night. You guys are at Rapungi Hills with the fucking spider. And then I went home and I was just absolutely at peace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was such a nice feeling, So it,
That's awesome, man.
yeah, even guys who didn't learn got from you what you did. You know what I mean? It was so cool. It was so cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, thank you. You could take that same mentality and apply it to anything in life that you want to do. And that's kind of what I've been doing maybe really since I started coming to the summits, honestly, because it's been a huge growth and evolution since that very first one in La Jolla, during 2020, March, when I met you and all the other guys, and I was like, man, I've got to get my shit together. I gotta grow up. I gotta build myself up quickly, because I was in this like transition phase of like, where do I go? What am I gonna do next? Who do I want to be, basically? But that mentality, that mindset, and the way of looking at life, like almost like a game, where it's like, all right, what skill do I want my character to develop next? Like I'm pretty proficient in archery, but I'm terrible at magic. All right, or whatever, right? All right, cool. I'm gonna learn that next, and then that's gonna get me to the next level, or round me out. Like that's gonna grow me to the next place I want to be. It's taking on and developing that skill, or overcoming that fear, or whatever, right? Learning to be a better friend, learning all these different things, and then your life just keeps getting better and better as you get better and better.
You have, I don't like the term energy, but it's a good term in this way, because your aura or energy or whatever when people met you, what they felt, what they thought about you, it's absolutely, it's amazing, to see where you were. Because I remember the La Jolla Summit perfectly. I remember you sitting against the wall, the wall with Ryan's bedroom, that direction behind you, the bathroom and stuff. And like, I remember you sitting there and talking, and I could read you where you were at, and there was so many things that to see how you've matured and grown into yourself. It's just fucking, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful thing to watch, and amazing too, amazing. Because most people, they just afraid of changing, into what they really, really making the changes. Like, yeah, it's shocking, it's so inspiring, really, truly, for me, it's like, and I think a lot of guys,
cool, man.
It gives them permission to say, hey, I can do it too. You know what I mean? Fuck this. Yeah. I'm going to be a truck driver and be lonely and angry and got a fucked up family and embarrassed and, shit. To a confident, world beater, fucking going around doing whatever the fuck he wants, meeting cooler guys, and yet retaining a lot of those skills that you developed as a kid, as a young guy, right? You really, I can really see how you became you, really, you know what I mean? Like, that's the cool part. You didn't become somebody else, It's very much who you are, and that's the ultimate goal.
That's really cool that you said that, because that's kind of how I've been feeling too, is in this process of being a Ronin, man, it's not really about that, but you know what I'm saying, like doing what we're doing, living this way,
whatever we're doing. Yeah, exactly.
I'm becoming more. The title doesn't matter, but I'm uncovering more of my true self. Like I'm expanding myself and growing and developing skills and abilities and finding parts of myself that I didn't really know I had, or maybe I wondered but I wasn't sure. And then once you experience it directly and you become that thing, you're like, oh, I am this, But also then going back and kind of reclaiming and just kind of naturally unfolding into who I really am. And it's a mix of the aspects I had probably since I was a kid, right? That's like just the way I am naturally. But then also it's like evolved or grown up into something that's more than I just was. It's not like, oh, you're a comedian or you're a singer. It's like, no, you're this work of art. You're this fucking masterpiece, this oil painting and whatever, right? The sculpture, and it just keeps growing and expanding like the universe. But it's all coming from that same core place, and that's what I love the most is just keep expanding, keep growing, keep refining that in myself, and that's why I get so much value from hanging out with you and all the guys and going to summits and traveling and doing everything we do. And it's like a consistent thing, I'm constantly like, all right, what's the next thing, and like unwrapping more of it, or maybe shaving off little crumbs of old parts of myself that were holding me back, or old belief systems or fears or whatever, right? And then just getting it better and better, shaping my body, shaping my mind and my life to what I want to be, to that best it can be.
You know what I saw when you're saying that is, do you remember those Instagram the posts where the guy's like riding the bicycle and then all of a sudden it becomes like completely hallucinogenic trip, Like,
yeah.
Like, so basically, imagine like something like a static oil painting suddenly becoming, bursting into video and colors and sounds and depth and movement, right? That's what I see it as,
Yeah,
maybe
that's a cool analogy.
There was a hidden away,
cool visual.
Yeah, there was a hidden away picture somewhere, but that became brighter and bigger and clearer and on the wall, not hidden somewhere, and now it's developed into this living, moving thing that can evolve into other things. You know what I mean? Like this entity that has capacity to become more than what it was. It's almost like when AI becomes smarter than us, right? It's like, what the fuck is it going to do, right? It's like, what the fuck is it going to do?
It's going to come to a Ronin summit in Japan. It's going to come to the Japan summit.
All right. Well, let's leave it at that. I'll let you continue the drive there. And
awesome. Thanks, man. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, and we'll have to do another call on our idea there soon. But our TV show. Yeah.
Sounds good, man.
All right, man. Yeah, have a good trip, and let me know what's up. Let's maybe just send me a message about what you're planning for the next couple weeks and stuff. And then they just closed the border, Cambodia and Thailand, so I'm gonna have to fly back. I was gonna take the bus.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, maybe it'll be open again. Who knows? It's very schizophrenic. They're kind of having a disagreement right now. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. Hey,
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. All right, man. Take it easy, man. Thanks for the call.
All right, you guys. Thanks,
okay.
man.
All right.